Let's tank Heroic Archimonde. Now, this fight is kind of a long one, so bear with me. We'll go through it phase by phase and go over every mechanic that a tank will get into and how to handle each one. So before we go into the phases, we want to be talking about Allure of Flames and how it affects you as a tank. So the big thing is to not move as much as you think you're going to need to. You need to see where it's getting put down to and move pretty much next to where it's being dropped. We want to move as little as possible so the DPS get as much uptime on the boss. The more you move, the more they've got to move and the less damage they're actually going to be putting onto the boss. So let's talk about phase 1. There's 2 abilities you need to watch out for. The first being Doomfire. Now, Doomfire is just an orb he's going to spawn and it's going to summon a fire which is going to chase one of your raid members. The goal here is to, first of all, know how the boss puts this down. So whichever way you're pointing him, he's going to summon it in front of him. So when he does that, you're just going to move the boss on top of it and then we're going to let the DPS cleave it down. We want to be putting as much damage onto the boss as well as killing all the priority things. Doomfire is your number 1 priority, followed by the Deathbringer, which we're now going to talk about. The next ability we're going to look at in phase 1 is Deathbrand, and this is put on the tank who's currently tanking Archimonde. And what it's going to do, it's going to deal 100,000 shadow damage every second until the ad that it spawns is killed. As well as this, when the ad is spawned, it's going to do so much shadow damage to you, you really need to pop a minor cooldown. I use Demo Shout. You can pretty much use anything though. It's not too deadly, but it just helps a lot with your healing. And when this adds up, he's going to do shadow bursts on you. Now, when he does each one, you want to be popping something. So you can use an external like sacks, you can use vigilances. Personally, you should have 4 sacks available to you, and you should be rotating these on you. The last thing you really need to look out for in this phase is when the boss summons a pillar. Now, you don't want to be standing next to the pillar when it spawns, as it's going to deal damage. But once the pillar's dead, tank the boss kinda close, you want to pop one of them orbs on yourself as this will help damage done to you. Phase 2 begins at 70% health. Now, Allure's the same, so make sure you're moving but not too much. Deathbrand's the same, so don't worry about that. But the new mechanic is Shackled Summon, and what this is going to do, it's going to shackle 3 of your raid members. It won't actually affect the tank, but what they're going to do is have to break it, and when they do, it pops raid damage onto everyone, and this is going to actually hit you, as well as tanking Archimonde or the ad, so you need to be using a cooldown when it goes off. The next new mechanic in this phase is going to be spawning 4 ads, 3 little ads which can't be tanked, and then you're just going to put an AoE circle around them, just don't be in it in case one does spawn on you, and a Fell Overlord which is a yellow ad. Now, you're just going to tank this. It doesn't do a lot of damage, but it does a cast. Now, you can stun or just interrupt this cast, but do not let this cast go off. If it goes off, it's going to put a lot of strain on your healers, which will probably end up in a wipe. At 40%, the boss is going to be transitioning to his last phase. Now, this phase is the most demanding out of all the phases for every single person in your raid. There's a lot that needs to be predetermined. You need to split your raid up into 3 groups. These groups are going to be down group 1, down group 2, and a little ad kill group, which isn't really anything for you to be worried about. Each down group needs to be roughly split. You need 1 tank, 1 healer, and then a number of DPS. So say you brought to your raid 12 DPS, you ought to be sending a 5-5 split with the 2 leftover players killing the ads up top constantly. So we'll start by talking about the down phase. So when you go down, the boss will put a little ring around the tank who's tanking him currently. Don't taunt early, because even during the cast, whatever tank's tanking the boss at the end of the cast will get it, and not before that. It's not predetermined, so once that cast goes off, then you're free to taunt. Make sure you predetermine where you want to put the down group. We normally stack 2 portals on top of each other, but as you get this boss on farm, you can get a bit more lackluster with it. So when you go down, everyone needs to be on there, so your down group 1 will go on top of the first tank, you'll all go down, you'll all be roughly spawned around this little platform. And when you're down there, you just need to get that ad picked up straight away. It'll pretty much 2-shot anyone else. So once you've picked it up, tank it in a good spot. I pretty much tank it as close to the center as I can, so your DPS aren't moving around too much to chase the star that's going to spawn. Now, the big thing about this is you need to interrupt the ad. If the ad gets a cast off, it's going to do a lot of damage, because that built up with the stacking debuff you're going to get while you're down there deals a lot of damage. Right, the next thing you need to worry about is the star. So the star's going to focus the closest person to it when it spawns, and what you want to do is get the fuck away from it. Don't stand near it, don't stand in its path, do not get in its path. If you touch it, it's going to fly you off the platform quicker than you can see on a map here. And if you're knocked off the platform, you can't get battle raised and you've wiped your raid. We do not want this to happen. So once the ad's dead, it's going to collapse in on itself. This collapse, if you're next to it, will send you back up, and if you're not, say a ranged DPS, you need to run over and go click to it. If you heroic leap away or something, you also need to run over and click to it. Also in this phase, I forgot to mention, is these little void things on the ground, just don't stand in them. And that's pretty much it for the down phase. The next thing is the up top bit, which is where it is really hectic. The down phase is pretty simple, kill it as quick as possible, get back up. Now, the up phase is where a lot's changed. The up phase is probably the hardest part of this fight in the last phase, as there's a lot to deal with. You're still dealing with Archimonde, you've still got the chains going on from phase 2, and you've now got Infernals spawning down. The Infernals are what will most likely wipe your raid, as they've got an energy bar. When it gets full, they start exploding and blowing up. You can't tank them together, they've got to be separately tanked. So you're going to want a hunter tanking one of them, a melee maybe tanking another, and you're tanking another one on top of the boss. If they get too close together, they start healing up for a shit ton, and you just can't deal with it. They need to be killed ASAP. They are #1 priority of this whole fight. Infernals need to die. Now, what also makes this hard is they normally come when the other group's still down, or they'll come as they're going down. The worst thing that happens, I noticed, is when the Infernals start spawning and the second group's going down, or you're going down into your third group, people will start panicking, running around like headless chickens, can't see where the tank is. You just need to tell them, look guys, remain calm, get on top of me, let the other group deal with it. Another thing our guild personally did was pop a cooldown, so we'd have the group go down, we'd pop a Bloodlust, so only half the raid got the Bloodlust, and we'd deal with the Infernals that way. You've also got ring cooldown now. It's been a number of weeks, you should be using your rings to help kill them. If you can kill the Infernals, then you've pretty much got this fight on lockdown. Make sure you balance the DPS as well. You don't want to stack a DPS group up, because it'll really fuck you over on the second down group. I also recommend is, if the boss is at like say 10% health, you can do a sat group on the down phase, which will consist of you as a tank, or the other tank, depending which one's going to go down. Make sure you communicate, find out what tank has the more cooldowns, send the one with no cooldowns down, because he's going to be dying. Then you want to send one of your healers, and probably your weakest DPS. If you do this, you don't have to worry about the down phase, you've got most of your DPS up, but you can easily burn the last 10% with executes. Anyway, I hope this guide helped you. If you've got any comments, comment below, like, subscribe, and I'll see you on my next video.